Richard Obahor was born in Benin City, Edo State, Nigeria. He relocated to the UK where he started a career in real estate as a buy-to-let landlord and within a space of 2 years rapidly progressed to acquiring and managing a multi-million pound property portfolio owing to his unique acquisition expertise. Richard is also responsible for sale and acquisition transactions worth millions of pounds for his high net worth clients. He has an executive master's in business administration from Plymouth University and has also attended several professional courses from highly reputable institutions. He has also won numerous industry awards. With a burning passion for progression, Richard delved into the development side of real estate, and his knowledge and expertise has since been translated into the Nigerian marketplace, ensuring his organization provides their broad spectrum customers with the highest level of quality. He joins me on the Just Steve Show today. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the Just Steve Show, and I have as my guest on the show today. Probably I shouldn't have had him, but yeah, I'm very glad that I do have him, and that's in the persons of Richard, who is my brother. Richard Obahor, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Okay, now I'm not sure if you've had the time to watch the show because I know you're a very busy man, but we have a ritual where we go back to the beginning, your childhood. Tell us about that. I know what your childhood was like. But for our viewers, tell us what your childhood was like.
Well, it depends on how much or how far you want me to go. But
right back to the beginning, as far as you can remember, all those pranks you used to.
Well, that was one of the ones I was going to start with, because as you know, I can't omit that, or I can't change that, because you pretty much know everything. But I was quite mischievous. If anything stood out, I was really, really naughty. I wanted to go and do loads of stuff. I remember I used to go and open the television and put it together because I just wanted to know stuff. And I remember, my dad and my mom would come back home and see me saying my dad and my mom as if you're not. Mm-hmm. They're not yours as well. But anyway, it was quite interesting because I sort of had a very, very inquisitive mind. I wanted to do things. I wanted to take things apart and put things together. I was very, very naughty.
Oh, yes, very, very.
I used to be the smallest, as you know, but I used to fight with my sister and all my siblings. But no, I think that most of these things that happened sort of has formed me to make me who I am today. So sort of turning to look at it from a positive.
What schools did you go to?
I went to school in Benin. I went to a Milton Primary School. I went to...
it was a very elitist school at the time.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Then I ended up at a school called ICC in Benin. Then I went to Edo State University.
What did you study in Edo State University?
Business administration.
Okay. Now, there's a reason why I've asked what you studied. Most of the guests I have on this show, what they are practicing now is totally different from what they studied in school. So you are into property at the moment. Now, why did you decide to go into property?
Well, that's a good question, because I started out in business about 12 odd years ago, and I didn't actually start out in property. I started out running a recruitment agency, but there was a sort of a burning passion to again, going back to when I was young, making things up, putting things together, and I thought, you know what, I'll try it out, and as I'm sure you know, property is very, very lucrative. So yes, that was one of the things that sort of drove me to go into property, because I thought, you know what, I'd rather go and build stuff and make things up.
Now this what you're getting into property was when you came to the UK. What made you want to come to the UK in the first place?
I had a lot of. That's a good question. I had you guys. You guys had already gone.
No, I wasn't here.
Oh yeah, that's true. Actually,
I was the last.
That was Ricky and Ife. And it was just I would say a natural progression, really. Then as when we finished school, we just thought, what next? We're not really interested in what was going on in Nigeria then, so it was I think it was Mom moved first, Ricky, then Efe, then I sort of added to the to the whole pack.
Okay, now take us through the process from when someone comes to you and says, I want a property, to when you hand over the keys.
I sort of liked the name, and it's a very, very fanciful name, property developer. But the actual name for what we do, we're actually a real estate agent. Because property development is just one aspect of real estate business. So if I was to respond to the question that you raised, the specific area of real estate that you are talking about is actually property acquisition. Because in real estate, you do property acquisition, you do sales, you do lettings, and you do developments. But property development is a fanciful name for pretty much what we do. So going back to the question you asked the question about property acquisition. So if I was to take you through the property acquisition process, so we do get clients who come to us and say, look, we want you to help us buy property. And they tell us two things. Look, they say, I know where I want to buy a property, or I want you, on the basis of your expertise, to tell me where would be the best place for me to buy a property. Now, when we do get clients who say to us, or whichever way anyway, we do that, we source properties for the clients, and we showcase those properties to them and tell them, look, these are the properties we found for you. If they're happy with that, then we now move things to the legal side of things. The solicitors will look at the paperwork to make sure that
these solicitors, you have them? Or?
Yes, we nominate the solicitors as well. But we do get clients who already have solicitors they've been working with for a very long time. But whichever the case, if they are in such a category, we sort of take over the transaction and we sort of oversee the process. So regardless of whether they're finding their own, we're recommending a solicitor to them, or we're using our own solicitors that we recommend, it's still sort of the same process. If we're recommending our solicitors, I would sort of pass the property details to the solicitor. The solicitor will conduct what's called conveyancing. So he'll look at the property.
What's that?
It's a fanciful name for the legal process, the legal processing of the transaction. So, for example, they'll conduct the local authority and they will contact the local authority and conduct what's called a local authority search. That's the local authority will tell them if they're, for example, having there's planning to have a road built near the property. They'll conduct things like a drainage search. They'll conduct things like a mining search. That's sort of what conveyancing covers. If the property was once local authority owned, that sort of information is slightly more detailed than that. They'll do a title search to find out if the property is unencumbered, i.e. if there's a mortgage lender lending on the property, if there's a mortgage lender holding a charge on that property. And they will conduct all of that search, and they would put together a report and submit that report to you and say, look, this is what we've done, these are the searches we've conducted, and just tell you, look, this is a good transaction, so go ahead, and if you're happy to go ahead, then you can do that. Then after that, it now moves to the finance. We do get some clients who come to us and they buy property outright, and we do get clients who come to us and say, please help us raise finance. I've got a small deposit, I want you to help me raise finance. So we sort of do that as well. So at that point, we go to the finance company and say, look, we've got a client who wants to raise money, can you lend? And the finance company will look at the person and check their match their criteria against the person's situation. And if they're happy with that, they say yes. The finance company will then send the money to the solicitor. It will be the solicitor that will send all the funds, the buyer's deposits, the money from the mortgage company, put that money together and send it to the seller. And once the seller receives the money, we get a call to say, look, we've received the money, you have completed on the transaction. I go there, pick up the keys from the seller, hand it over to my buyer. That's job done.
Oh. Okay, we're going to have a break right now, and when we come back, we'll still be continuing with this conversation. It's still the Just Tip Show, don't go anywhere.
As you rightly say, you've looked at a plan, you've seen a very nice, fanciful drawing. That's what you want. That's what you've parted your money for. Parted with your money for, and we really cannot change that. How people perceive Africa altogether. Africa, there's a lot of opportunities out there, but the key problem, especially in Nigeria, the key problem people have with these countries, perception. People think that these places are bad.
You're welcome back if you're just joining us on the Just Tip Show today. I have my wonderful brother with me, and I'm having such a good time talking to him about property. And I'm actually learning quite a lot that I didn't know about before. Now, you've handed over the keys. Now, you have, you're doing a development. Is that the right term to use?
Yeah.
You've decided to do that in Africa, in Nigeria to be precise. Now, I want to ask, Nigeria, as we know, is such a very difficult terrain to do business.
Yes.
Now, you've taken me through the process, if it's here in the UK.
Yes.
Do you have those kind of things in place, as in proper in place in Nigeria? Because we know that it's hard, business is hard in Nigeria.
Course, yes.
So yes. Do you have that kind of thing in place?
We do actually, but I'll try and elaborate a little bit more in responding to that question you've asked. Again, property development is one sector of real estate, and property development, as it stands, is what you buy land and develop it, and that's pretty much property development. So we've decided to go and do that in Nigeria. Now, the main reasons we sort of thought about that, because we had a lot of clients come to us based here in the UK, and saying, look, we want to invest in Nigeria, and we don't know who to trust. We can't raise all the money because in the UK we're used to mortgages and finance and things like that. So we thought, you know what, we'll perhaps put something together and service our clients who are based here, who want to go and buy in Nigeria. But as you rightly say, Nigeria, the terrain is completely different altogether. It's a different ballgame altogether. There are loads of dubious people out there who are very much happy to dip their hands in their pocket and take all your money if you give them the opportunity to. And we knew that this was a problem for people, so we thought, you know what, if we can put a service, a product together and sort of bridge the gap. And by saying that, I'll explain that a little bit. For example, the solicitors that we use here, we've engaged them to oversee all our transactions. So a typical buyer from the UK who is having the same concerns as you've just raised, they're saying, what about the legal side of things? Am I sure this is right? So what we've done is we've instructed our solicitors here to oversee all our transactions. So that solicitor will talk to the solicitor who's based in Nigeria. And it's only when they're happy to proceed, that's when they give the go-ahead. They have some level of structure in Nigeria. It's just that it's not as structured as it is here. Here you can go online, quickly check land registry, pay £3 within a minute. I can tell you the rightful owner of a property. I can tell you how much money was borrowed on that property. I can tell you who else is lending money. In Nigeria, you don't have that. You've got to go from one table to another desk to find that out. It could take you 3-4 days, and you are not
3-4 days.
Yes, sometimes even longer, and you are not absolutely sure how reliant the information you get is.
So how do you work around that to make yourself credible?
Yes. So we pretty much what we've done is we've had our solicitors go to the local solicitors based in Nigeria. We've done a lot of searches and we have identified a number of solicitors that we would work with. Those solicitors are credible. And by having another solicitor here in the UK who is overseeing the whole process, he is looking out for things that I would not, or the average man would not typically look out for. That sort of helps us to stand out. So I can pretty much tell you when we make a recommendation, we're 90%, 95% confident that there are no problems at all.
Okay, and for argument's sake, if there is a problem, whatever it is, have you thought about how you would rectify it?
Yes, it's a very good question you raise, because there will always be problems when you when you conduct such transactions. So for us, key is to do, before we proceed into the transaction, do as much due diligence as possible. We carry out as much research as possible on the transaction, so we know there are minimal problems likely to happen. Now, if for any reason at all, and I'll be very, very careful in answering this, but it's very, very important. If for any reason at all there's any problems with the transaction, we will, as developers, refund the money back to our buyers. That's how confident we are about what we're doing. So just to get things in perspective, anybody buying from us, and if for any reason at all have any problems at all, I mean, it's not likely, because we do all our research, all our due diligence before we buy our land that we develop on. But if for any reason at all there's any problems at all, we are that confident and we say you get your money back.
Okay. Now we understand that you're starting this in Nigeria. Tell us about that.
Now, with the very first development we started, we're just completing that now, and it's in Shongotendo in Lekki. It's on the Lagos Expressway. It's opposite Lagos Business School. Now, that is a development of four bedroom houses, terrace houses. All the rooms are en suite, and we started that small because we wanted to make sure we get something done, and we can use that as a showcase. We can get people to come and see the sort of quality of work we're doing. And most of the stuff we've used for that development we shipped from the UK, because we wanted to make sure that we achieve a very, very high standard, because our target markets are people who are based here in the UK. So we thought, we'll do it very, very well to a UK standard, and that would attract people who are typically used to living in the UK. So that's what we've done. So that's in Shongotendo in Lekki. It's just opposite Lagos Business School. We finished that, and we're starting another one in the Lekki Free Trade Zone. It's a new place coming up in Lagos as well. Still the same sort of environs. Okay,
now you've said that these developments are mostly for people who live in the UK.
Yes.
Probably, would you want to explore outside of the UK?
No, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good thing you raised that point, because it's not just specifically the UK. We've had a lot of interest from Canada. We've had a lot of interest from America. So there is a lot of scope. Yes, there is a lot of scope for that.
And would you also consider those in Nigeria as well?
Yes, we will. We will if they come in. But to be honest with you, we really would love to sell to people who are based here. It works very well for us. We've sort of done the development sort of to their taste, but doesn't stop us from selling to anybody who's based in Nigeria.
Okay, that's very interesting. Now we understand that you have an event coming up. Would you want to tell us about that?
Now we are launching the property development I talked about, Woodbury Terrace. The reason why we thought we'd launch it, we thought we'll make it big. We'll get a lot of people aware of what's happening in Nigeria at the moment, because we thought lots of people we speak to, they don't know that this can happen. So when I say to people, look, I can build a house for you, give you your keys, I can raise finance for you, you don't have to worry about it. And they go, really? Can that happen? So we thought, you know what, let's bring a lot of exposure. Let's let loads of people know about what we can do. So we are launching that development. We're getting loads of people to come and see what we've done. And also the opportunity for them as well to go into our new developments. So there we give people the option of starting from scratch. People can do what's called off-plan, buy from us what's called buy off-plan. So they see the drawings and they can come and buy at that point. It's a lot cheaper if they do
okay, now you've talked about this off-plan. I didn't know that was what it was called, right?
Yes.
I mean, showing me a picture.
Yes.
How can I be convinced that at the end of the day that drawing that you've shown me is going to be how it is when it's developed?
Now, it's a good point you raise. It's a contractual arrangement we go into when you're paying us this amount of money for this specification of building. However, we might end up having some small variations, and if we do have that, we'll come to you and say, look, we are looking to have this level of variation, and this is the reason why we're doing this, and you would approve before we go ahead. It's not likely that happens, but we do have the accommodation for that, because as you rightly say, you've looked at the plan, you've seen a very nice fanciful drawing. That's what you want. That's what you've parted with your money for, and we really cannot change that. And like I said, if we have to change that, we have to get your consent. We have to explain to you why we are doing this, and you have to be happy with that before we do anything.
Justin, I probably will change profession. Do you mind?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Yes, it's fine. Yeah. And just speaking, going back to the launch. There's again, as we started this interview, you talked about perception, how people perceive Nigeria, how people perceive Africa altogether. Africa, there's a lot of opportunities out there, but the key problem, especially in Nigeria, the key problem we have, what people have with these countries, is the perception. People think that these places are bad, it's rife with corruption, loads of bad things happen. So they tend to shy away, but we know that there are loads of opportunities out there. So for that day, we're saying, you know what, let's bring value. Let's get people to understand at least a little bit of what Africa is on, what Nigeria is in terms of business, in terms of investment. So we're inviting quite a number of speakers to come and speak on various topics: finance, technology, startups, foreign direct investments, and loads of things. So people are going to come that day, and they're going to benefit from a lot of things we're going to be doing that day.
Okay, look into that camera and to tell us where the event is going to be, what time, and all of that. But just look straight into that camera.
Now, the event is going to be on the 19th of July, and that's going to be happening at the DoubleTree Hilton Hotel in Holborn, and we're starting at 7. Now, one of the highlights of that day is the raffle draw, and I can tell you it's going to be very, very big. We are promising you that we're going to shock you with what we're going to give out for that day. We are proud sponsors for that event, Bang and Oluse, and they're going to be giving out a gift as well. So yes, it's going to be very, very exciting. Again, it's on the 19th of July 2016 at the DoubleTree Hilton Hotel, and that's near Holborn Station, and we're starting at 7 o'clock. You're going to meet loads of people, loads of industry leading experts. They're going to talk about loads of things. So yes, we're looking forward to seeing you there, because I promise you it's going to be a very, very
and another thing, just one last thing that we also do when on the show. I'm just looking to the camera and say something to the young ones, something that can inspire them.
I mean, I would say have a can-do attitude. I've got a very popular quote that I always say. It's by Henry Ford, and he says, "If you believe you can, you're right. If you believe you can't, you're right." So what I'll say to you is have a can-do attitude. I believe I can. You too can. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on the show, Richard, and I wish you all the best with the event and all your projects.
Thank you so much.
And I'm sure if after we've had the event and you've sold out there, we'll come back on the show and tell us.
Absolutely, we'll be happy to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Well, that's our show for today. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. We're going to do this again sometime soon. Until then, I remain Evelyn Obahor. Goodbye.